Right.
This is my
Mr.
life.
Strawbridge.
This is my life. I sit here, and my wife makes me gin and tonic. Off you go.
Good evening.
Hi. Hello. I'm just dressing.
We normally come to you with a gin and tonic. I don't normally make it, but this is quite exciting because we are finally going to have our own gin, Chateau Gin. In fact, walled garden gin sample. Took a few samples to.
It's a very, very hard. There's an awful lot of artisan gins about this. We know that. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have a go at it, because it's a really good excuse to sample making gin.
And it's going to be small batch. It's going to be like 30 done at a time. So this is not what we're going to retire on. However, we've got a gin.
30 bottles at a time. I think that's just going to go down in the cellar. To be completely blunt about it.
I may have already put the first order in. Or we've got a party to go to. Anyway, we're gonna. Dick hasn't tried it in a little while, so I just thought I'd remind you. And
that means, by the way, that's cool. Dick hasn't tried it in a little while. Means that Angela has tried it. Last time I saw that bottle, it was full. So somebody with you has been drinking that, and I wasn't here. Sarah, you. So we've had visitors, and Angela's drunk gin without me. Pour away, girl. Don't try to make any excuses. Lizzie. There you go.
Right. Anyway, so about what do you reckon? A little single measure, and I hope you are having an absolutely lovely evening. It's been raining all week. We are British. We must talk about the weather a little bit. What do you reckon?
What's that?
Right, this is all garden gin. Well, let's just carry on talking about gin until we get to cheers. Right. The difference is
hold on.
Tiny little bit
about weather. You start talking about the weather.
Oh, I've gone back to gin now because I can't multitask.
You can't multitask. That's my girl.
This is a little bit of lavender from the garden.
I thought we put it in the gin already.
No.
We put a pipette. I was in a measuring jug when we were doing okay. Yeah. This is lavender from the garden, you see, so it's the percentage.
It's just
a tiny.
I know I can't find a pipette.
I can't find a pipette. Oh, dear God. This is called lavender gin. Oh.
It's so subtle, but at the end, because it's all garden gin, and one of the first things that Dick ever bought me was a whole load of lavender bushes, and they've done us good, those lavender bushes, because every year
we use for buttonholes and things, but as well as that, the bees that we have, these we've still got the bees. You know, you don't get to see everything all the time, but the bees are still beavering away, and not now. They're going into quietly into sort of dormant mode at the minute, because we had wonderful weather up until 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it became a bit autumnal for a while, but then it's piddled down for ages. And that's quite relevant, because believe it or not, we're working very hard at the minute. We've both got a bit froggy throat some way.
There you go. Well, cheers. Good health as well. Cheers to you. How's that?
You'll never know unless you buy some.
It's very nice though. It's actually very, very refreshing.
It is nice. It's good. We like that.
Not too much lavender, but just enough.
Anyway, we're talking about weather. We're talking about various bits and pieces. I thought what I would actually like to make sure people understand what's happened and what we're doing, because we're on the telly. We're actually on the telly again. Okay, we're sort of we've done our bit. We've done our work.
We are exactly halfway through the show tonight.
See, I'm touching Angela's back with my rough hands, and if I move my fingers across her back, she does this all the time because I've been working and my fingers are a bit rough. So I put my hand.
Stop it!
This is my life. So if I get a manicure, or is a manicure not pedicure? If I get a manicure and my fingers are all soft, I can put my hand on Angela's shoulder. Okay. But we're sitting here and I actually catch her clothes.
Just stop it.
We have been busy. That's the bit. We have been working.
Lots of people ask this question. They often think that we are 6 months, a year behind.
People have asked if Christmas was when we filmed Christmas.
Yeah.
Which is quite an interesting concept, because Father Christmas only comes in December.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite relevant, isn't it?
Very, very relevant. And especially in France, I mean, you know, you often don't really find Christmas stuff until the latter part of November.
I think I've seen a couple of things.
I have seen it,
which
but
is unusual in mid-November.
Yeah, only this year actually, which is very, very interesting. But we are halfway through the show. You're going to get to see the extension of the folly, which is a lovely, lovely show tonight. But we still have not finished show 7 and 8, and we've got
6 finished.
We've just finished 6
Oh
last
yes,
week.
oh yeah, 6.
Yeah.
What is the code? 6. Yes, we did 6.
6 upstairs, 7 outside, that way, which is the back of the chateau, and 8 that way for the big Christmas extravaganza. And they have probably, by the time I get everything into the edit, they've probably got 10 days. Not for Christmas though. It's days to edit.
But to be fair, we have been thinking about it. The whole process of how we make the telly, how we've made Escape to the Chateau for 9 seasons, has always started with the beginning of the year. What are we going to do, and what parts of it make sense for people to see on Escape to the Chateau?
Yeah.
And remember, we've done a lot of changes and here, and the way we've done it. To begin with, the first year we didn't actually know what we were going to get done. We just sort of everything got filmed and captured, and even in years 2 and 3 it was a bit like that. But at the beginning of the year, we sort of say these are the jobs we're going to do, and they get followed. But the big jobs, some of the jobs are huge. The folly, getting some of that work done. Going to be very honest with you. There's a reason for us actually doing the folly and doing the whole external cuisine d'été. C'est ça qu'on appelle cuisine d'été. We're speaking in French.
Français, baby.
Yeah, but the sort of the summer kitchen.
Which you're going to see tonight.
Yes, tonight. But we're doing all that because every year in the past 3 or 4 years, we've had a big paddling pool. And the big paddling pool is in the southern quadrant of the walled garden. And Arthur and Dorothy, the little water babies, love it.
They absolutely love it. You may, if you've seen the ones that we did in the summer, and actually I think last year as well, we have given away our ugly €299 paddling pool. But next year,
but what we have discovered over the course of these years is it's actually where we want to have our pool. I didn't use the word paddling there. Did you spot that? To have our pool. The thing is, it's January before the rules actually change. We belong to the Maoris, and they said, come and talk to us again in January because the rules are changing. Because we're just thinking, you know what? That's the perfect place because that's where it's our private garden and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, we're jumping forward a little bit, but
that's in the future.
It's always good to test and try before you commit.
It's not jumping forward because what we're doing is we're building things and doing things in the garden now because we always think 2 steps ahead. So we're thinking what else is going to happen in the garden.
Oh my gosh, exactly. And but what you're sort of saying is
we did all of the work in the garden, thinking that one day we may have something more than a paddling pool.
Yes.
I think it's quite well. That's quite well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And what I think some of our loveliest, especially in the lockdown year, we had a paddling pool, and then you would get the barbecue and kind of wheel it over. And then we'd be putting all the stuff, and we get and then it's all got to go back. And it was just tables. We take a couple of tables over there, and it was
always an umbrella.
It was so nice. But now we've got shade. We've got somewhere proper for you to cook, so you don't have to wheel the barbecue. We've got water. That's quite exciting. The kids have got somewhere lovely to sit. And whilst it is so nice, and we've actually quite enjoyed it a number of times, it is going to come into its own next year. So tonight's show, just think, when you're watching it, just think of us in our minds of where we kind of see that next year.
Next summer. Because when you do something into the autumn, the nights are starting to draw in, kind of a bit damper. Yeah. But we know how hot it is in that part of the garden, how lovely it is. The view's special as well. And what we've done is we've brought back to life that whole corner of the garden. But the thing about that is that's been going for a long time.
That project.
Yeah. And all the projects are going for a long time. We've got the one up there, not the one out there.
The one up there. Well, we try and set them all going a little bit because some of the things they take, just getting elements or pieces. So we're either looking for them because they're second hand and they're rare, or they just take a long time to get.
And the work behind it as well, because no, it doesn't give anything away. We point at we're talking up in the attic, and we need to insulate our property. We've been very aware all along, and we did the insulation up in the observatoire, which has made such a huge difference. But that's right in the middle. It's like a bald bloke, instead of putting on a hat on, puts a little strip in the middle of his head. That doesn't work. So what we're doing is we're actually looking at the sides as well, with our insulation in the attic. So the attic being insulated, it's really, really been a big job. And it brings it so it feels completely differently.
The house feels different. The house feels warmer without sort of having the heating on and what have you, because the temperature's dropped. You know, it must have with you, because we often, where we are here in France, if you are in the UK, obviously, if you're further afield, then maybe not, but you don't have too dissimilar sort of temperatures to us.
But we've seen in the next 10 days, we're expecting a frost. You know, so we have come into that time of the year. And
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, no, I always look 10 days ahead in the weather forecast. But what is really interesting is, for us, the chateau's changing the way it feels. We've got some big old jobs to do, and the actual making it nice and warm upstairs. The room that we've done, that programme's done, isn't it? Is it done? Have we finished that?
I am Madam's spreadsheet. Pleased to meet you.
I think the bit upstairs.
So we have got, as we stand today, we've got a little bit of 7 to do, which is the penultimate show.
A little bit.
A little bit of 7 to do, and we've got 8, which is our Christmas finale. Now this has been bubbling for most of the year. I mean, everyone, one of our friends and families have had their save the dates out, and it's been interesting because it's like a wedding, and you know,
with more anarchy,
because
families,
there's not as many flights going, you know, in the summertime, all the ferry connections and all the flights go, but there's none of that.
Bless you. Oh, bless you.
Oh, pardon me. I must be allergic.
But the organising family takes a bit more effort, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, but people spend.
It's like herding cats.
People couldn't spend.
3 sneezes and we have to measure her for a box.
People spend years organising their weddings.
They do. You do as well. Is that the issue? The lack of gin?
I just felt like I was still going to sneeze. Anyway, I think it's gone. It's like getting the giggle pops. It's
Angela has got a horse allergy. That's the whole.
Stop it.
No, completely different story. But actually, at the moment, I've changed the topic from talking about our program back to animals. Petal is actually going through a little bit of her life now where she's rolling in things that are really quite smelly.
Oh, she's really smelly.
So that's worth putting that in. So you can see our life around us. We're all working to try and get program 7 over the line, and Petal goes around and rolls in something. So you stroke the dog when she comes to see, and you go,
quickly run.
She does hum. We've had her in the bath upstairs.
We've had her in the bath. We took her to the beach about a month ago, didn't we? And that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We knew that. Well, we don't often take Petal to the beach, but also
out of season,
dogs are not allowed sort of along the Brittany coast. So we were going for a lovely walk along there, and Arthur said, I'll hold Petal. So we said okay, and me and Dick, so Dorothy was picking up shells, and me and Dick spent a moment holding hands, just having that lovely moment that both the kids are really entertained.
I forgot about this.
And then they heard, Dad, help!
There's another little dog was trying to dance with Petal, and it wanted to play piggybacks with Petal. Yeah.
Anyway, I spent the rest of the walk with Arthur, who was trying to
it was quite traumatised.
Talk to me about what was going on.
What exactly was going on? Why was that dog trying to sort of have a dance with our little girl dog?
Yeah, anyway.
She wasn't in season, but it's just it's all done. Everybody gets frisky when they go to the seaside.
Oh, that's hilarious. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah. But anyway,
but we haven't, to be honest, that moment at the seaside, we actually haven't had a day off since then. And although we did, because it was our anniversary. How many? This week.
Yeah. This week.
It was this week.
Was it last week or this week?
No, it was this week. But we actually went away for a night. It was just after the seaside, because we knew that this was a really, really big push. Because at the start of the year, we kind of roughly decide what we're doing, and we set all the projects off. You know, like Mum and Dad's last year actually took about 18 months to do. You know, these things, as you know, as anyone knows, they don't just happen in 4 to 7 minutes. And then we have to get them.
That's a real pity, by the way.
I know, it's a real pity. I mean, actually, I wish it could be Mary Poppins and done, but it doesn't happen like that. So then we're always racing at the end, aren't we, to get everything over the line.
But we did manage to get, with this series, if you look at the individual programs, we have spread them out, because this year we had to be very aware of the schedule, because the weddings were back. Yeah. And I know the weddings are featured in the series as well.
Yes.
But we had to be really very aware of it, because we needed to ramp up. Yeah. And the weddings, we talked about those briefly, but they've been glorious. This is the year of celebration, and it's been so lovely. Such nice people as well.
It's Louise and Michael's wedding tonight on the show.
Did I just say that?
Yeah, of course we are. It's been, and
you flip between channels.
They're such a gorgeous couple. But am I allowed to say the bit that still bias popular? Dick and Arthur, they made this thing called bitterballen, and it's
the
like
Dutch
a Dutch
connection comes out, yes.
Yeah, like a Dutch stew that's been cooked in breadcrumbs.
It's a crunchy meat croquette type thing,
and because it was quite complicated, it was requested by Michael actually, wasn't it? When he came for the tasting, it took about. Well, I think you just, because everyone loved them so much, you did about 3 different tests to find out how, because it's all, anything can be made well if you're making half a dozen or a dozen or something. When you have to go into making mass production, I've seen it, you can't have that. You know, you have to have a different way of cooking.
I think at this stage is what I was saying, because bitterballen are like a bechamel sauce where they're very like a beef bourguignon in it that's been sort of flaked through it, and then panade, so with panko breadcrumbs, and then deep fried, so it has to be crispy. But anything that's got a bechamel in it, it can actually ooze out and not be perfect. So we did try it with doing it in the oven, doing it just to order. But the best thing about all of it was Arthur was part of the experimental team to do this. And I think everybody around the chateau had bitterballen tastings going all the way up to the wedding.
It was absolutely fantastic, and to say he was
so proud.
He was so proud when he took them around, and you know the particular wedding as well. Because they'd requested it specifically, and they could clearly
no pressure
clearly see that we'd sort of made an effort to try and get this dish right. It was a lovely moment. I think that possibly is, you know, the wedding, and that was one of the favourite bits of my show.
But in this season, in this whole series, Arthur has actually been in the kitchen on several occasions. He is anyway. Arthur and I cook. We usually do breakfast and things, and we cook together when we're doing the evenings. But for the weddings, he's been involved a little bit more. And when James came across the things as well, we've got all of the cooking together in the kitchen. It's still something that it gets such pleasure.
Oh, it's been so nice, hasn't it? Actually, just, you know, sort of being able to call up James and say, listen, we've got this going on, can you come over? And him being able to come over without having to fill out countless forms. Yeah. And, that's just been an absolute joy. You know, we've actually got a coach coming over there next nearly 2 weeks from the UK, and I actually just thought, you know, I'll just check what the COVID regulations. No, it was just such a joyous thing, and I think this year
we're back to what can only be called.
This has to be. This is the new normal, isn't it? And I think it is, and I think this year was a year where everyone tried to go on holiday as much as they could. But I think next year's going to be a year where it's going to, it will even itself out. But
we had a period of time, and we didn't even know it pre-COVID, where life and travel and how we lived was very, very simple, going back and forth to the UK. And we don't talk about Brexit, but the actual changes that have taken place there as well. Well, lots of those things changed the world from the start of our journey here. Now, this next 2 programs that you're going to see, we've got number 7, which is going to be at the back, and we've got the big party. But it's interesting, we also look back on our time and look and see some of the changes that have taken place. The whole politics of it, forget that. We're not even interested in having conversations about that. But our lives have changed. And it's become difficult in some ways, easy in other ways, but we are here, we're bedded in to do this. And when we started looking back at some of the different sort of aspects of what we've done with the children, with what we've done as our projects, is it fair to say you were gurning your eyes out, girl? That's a good attitude. It's so lovely. Arthur and Dorothy.
There may be a few flashbacks in show 8, but it was very, very gorgeous to remember. You do. It's not that you ever forget, but it's just not at that front of your.
It's nice to be reminded
of your memory, and when you see it again, I think that's one of the reasons why we have continued to do Escape, to have that memory documented. Because even today, Dorothy was watching with us because we were doing what we do, and she loves seeing herself. And then at one point,
hold on, she saw herself at sort of 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months in the chateau, and just so tiny and wee. And now she's 8 years old, going on 28 years old. No?
No, not really. But she is absolutely, since she was 2 years old, Dorothy has absolutely known her own mind, what she wants to wear, what she wants to do, and she's. But
her seeing that as well, it was
lovely when. Yeah.
But the children's changes, and if you like, the finale of all our sort of time out here doing Escape, it was interesting looking back at all the various aspects. The chateau is looking pretty good. We've got on the walls. We've got our sort of plans up there, and Jonathan, a little peek, see the plans that we got given. Well, go a little further, you can see the tellies out for the rugby. Look, you can see the telly just in the cupboard. Let's come out. We see all these plans. We're going through ticking off what we've done, and it's fair to say we're doing quite well. We're doing quite well about our comforts, aren't we?
Yeah, we certainly are, darling. But looking back at some of the rooms, you must have admit. I mean, I had forgotten.
It's interesting going back to the very beginning, because if you see a room being made over in one of the programs, you probably don't have the same picture of day one when we walked in.
No.
The commercial kitchen. What colour was the commercial kitchen? Green.
Green.
There was slime all the way around the inside of it, and it wasn't the same shape because there was a toilet outside that came into it with 2 long drops where 2 people could sit side by side and poop into the moat. Now, all of that, only when you go back and look at it, you think, bloody hell, we've come on from there, haven't we? And we've got people come to visit. When the people come to see us for Christmas, I can't wait to let them sort of see what's happened.
I completely agree with you. I mean, we've got sort of like Lee and Carl, the our plumber mates, and they haven't been here since Mum and Dad's, but I don't think they really got to have a proper look around.
They didn't know they were not. But the changes, all of the stuff is still there, all the stuff we did. Lee and Kyle came across before we bought the chateau, if you remember. Yeah. We'd actually said we were going to buy it, and we hadn't actually signed for it. And they came across. We drove across. Yeah. We came down, and we were talking about where the plumbing could go, and I was explaining my plan to them. And a fish jumped out of the moat and splashed. Oh, bloody hell! There's fish, and we're going to own them. And all of that mindset, and then them, and the hard nights, because we lived in a gîte just down the road.
And I remember those early days. It's very easy when you're so busy to kind of forget them, and you don't ever forget them. But it's having those moments to
remember them.
Yeah, and all the flies, but also when they came back from the gîte, everyone was so cold that they had to defrost. It was, even though they had layer.
There was no electricity, so we had to use battery operated stuff, which we had to charge back at the gîte.
Yes.
And get a
hot because the electricity hadn't, the guy hadn't come. But Val, who is Lee's wife, she
looked after us.
She wasn't there, but she sent Lee. It was very funny, like a jar of chili sauce. It was homemade chili sauce.
Scotch bonnets. We're talking powerful.
And Val knows how to put flavour into this, and we all argued over it to the point, because we needed to get to the end of the week, we rationed it. Yeah, and there was always, I remember there was one person that kept taking and taking. I'm not saying any names. Weren't on our team actually, and but we were like, no, you can't do that. We have to get it, and it
Had to see us through the week,
it warmed us up. And then since then, we've been every time they come over, Val brings her chili sauce. And what's great is that, what's incredible about this is that Val doesn't even like chili, so she's never ever tasted it.
I think she gets herself completely suited up with masks, everything, and gloves, and makes it for everybody else. But that's only one example, because Hazel coming across.
Yeah. And
we've got people coming to see us who haven't been that often, but what they've done is they come at various stages.
Yeah.
Just even Alan that's coming across who helped with the catering for our wedding in the first year.
Yeah.
When he comes back, he hasn't seen the place recently.
Oh no.
Because everybody's got busy lives and we're in contact, but we don't always come together here.
I think that's what's so exciting, because the party that's happening in a couple of weeks it will be done. But the party that's happening, everyone that's come in is being part of it, and we're looking forward to hugging and just having a chat, because it's not very often that you get, it's normally, what do you say, matching
and dispatching.
Yes, and to do something like this, which is really none of those, it's just like everyone getting together and having a really, really good time and a good party. I simply cannot wait.
We have to get there. And it's interesting because when the transmission started on Channel 4, and we suddenly realised it was going out, but we weren't finished. and actually, that really focused my mind, was because we still had a lot to do, because obviously we work in the background as well with Lizzie and the team, not just Jonathan who's here, who's on the other side of the camera there, but everybody who's involved. It's all manic getting towards the end. I'm suddenly thinking, we're on. There's no excuses, because every week people are expecting to sit down on Sunday and have a chance to watch some of it.
No, absolutely. But what happens?
Makes your bum twitch, by the way, because you're thinking, we have to get it done.
What happens in a couple of weeks' time, though? It's then on television within a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That is the crazy thing. So if you're watching the show, it's not Last Christmas. It is virtually. I would say, apart from doing something live, it's as live as you can get. That is so close.
But the stories have lasted a long time. It's interesting because in some of the programs you start from the snow, going all the way through the summer, because that's what the projects take. There's all these different strands, and for us, we feel like we have done 3/4 of the dog work, but we've got more and more stuff to get squared away. And the beauty of what we're doing now is we actually think we can do it. I think we can actually get to the point where
I think we're going to get to the end, but the end will just.
No, that's not the end.
The end, no, of the chateau renovation, because then all that's going to happen is that one of the rooms that we did at the.
We're not even going to get to that point, because what's going to happen is this is not sort of we're going to get to the end of doing the chateau, because there's still things to do.
There's so much.
What's going to happen is we're just going to get to the point where we think, what are we going to do next year? We'll have exactly the same process. We'll have exactly the same sort of. I have an idea. What?
You've had a couple of cracking ideas this year. Do not blame me.
I think it was the gin. That's where we started, wasn't it? Listen, we hope you have a really lovely weekend. Yes, and your very good health.
Enjoy the show.
Yeah, enjoy the show, and you gotta smile. Don't work too hard. Cheers.